Okay, here's my lesson for third grade students on what's the time, teaching them basic concepts of the elements of time and how to tell the time in any location throughout the day. As I said before, it is for third grade students. The amount of students is unlimited, but for here we'll just say 18. Instructional time should be about 20 minutes for talk time for the teacher, and then activity time is 15 minutes apiece. There are 2 activities in the lesson, and general reflection at the end is 10 minutes. There are voiceover narrations in it, but I will not go into depth in them right now. And below, as you can see, are the standards correlated to it to tell time, to tell and write time from analog and digital clocks to the nearest 5 minutes, etc., etc., and using subtraction to solve word problems, which there will be one included in the lesson. Next, we go into the objective. Students will learn a basic concepts of time. As we said before, they'll learn the minute, the second, the hour, and the 12 hours 2 times over. That completes a 24-hour day cycle. They'll learn the basic meanings of AM and PM, and then there'll be an additional side piece, interactive portion that students can add on to learn the real meanings of AM and PM. They'll also learn the difference between digital and analog clocks, and estimating the time to the nearest 5 minutes or 15 minutes, which is the 1:45 and 2:30. And the final one, the E, is learning time zone differences, which we will not get to in this lesson, but it is an option to make a continuing lesson where students can learn about sundials and other methods of time telling that they used before in previous years. Then there's a basic overview of how to tell time, target questions that we'll be discussing in an open forum right here. So I have the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition here at first, but it will start off as a KWL chart similar to that, where students will, in an open discussion, tell the teacher what they think time is and the functions of time, what it's used for, such as for scheduling and for dates and other things of that nature. And then the basic components are here at the bottom. It takes 12 hours twice a day to make 24 hours. 1 day contains 24 hours. 1 hour takes 60 minutes, etc., etc. Then here is another general overview where the teacher, this is where the instructional time comes in at. The teacher will go into how you can get the general basics of time throughout the day from the sun, such as the sun rising. You have before noon, which is the AM, the sun rising in the day. And it goes into PM, the afternoon, where the sun is mid-level, clear skies, etc. Evening, where the sun is setting. And then finally into midnight, where there's a full moon out. So that will be also a possible extended activity for students to do as a take-home activity, where they could check the times throughout the day according to the sun and where the sun is positioned. And then finally is an interactive video here for students to learn the history of time, which is asking me to open it in an extended web page, so I will not go into that right now. Finally, the video review is another interactive lesson, which I had grabbed from YouTube. References are in the final slide. So students will match the correct times with the clock. This will be again after the physical lecture, that the teacher will give the basic schematics of time, and the students will record them in their journals. So from here, they will first figure out where the long hand is positioned, as I'm pointing to figure out the hour, which is indicated as 6 p.m. And then they will indicate the minute hand, which is the short hand here, to indicate whether it is 1:45 or 2:30. And this video again goes into that interactive lesson as well. I will not click on it, as it will extend it into another web link. Then we go into another interactive lesson. It's a timeline of a person throughout a couple hours in the day, and students would have to use basic math skills, subtraction most likely, to get the correct answer. So the first question that comes up is at 9:30 a.m. Jasmine arrives at her interview and leaves at 10. So students will have to use subtraction to figure out how many minutes the interview was from 9:30 to 10. So from there, students will learn that the time was 30 minutes. And then again, the next question in 10:15, Jasmine arrives early for her English course, which is at 10:30. So students will have to either add up or add or subtract down, adding up from 10:15 to 10:30 or counting down from 10:30 to 10:15. So where they will get the answer of 15 minutes. And then this answer here, the 60 minutes, is for after Jasmine meets with friends for lunch. They will have to add up 10:30 to 11:30, which will get them 60 minutes and the conversion of 1 hour. Then Jasmine does volunteer work at the local animal shelter from 11 at 12:15. So how long did it take Jasmine to arrive to the local animal shelter from the lunch, which was 45 minutes? Then finally, Jasmine arrives back on campus early to study before her shift at the library at 3 p.m., which also goes back into the first question. From 12:15 to 2:15, Jasmine was at the volunteer shelter for 2 hours, which equals or is equivalent to 120 minutes. And finally, how much time did she have before her 3 p.m. shift when she arrived at 2:15 would be 45 minutes. So this basic timeline is to get students interacted into the lesson by raising hands or by a short discussion in groups to get these answers, and they can record these in their journals as well as give a real life experience of someone who has to manage their time throughout the day. So from 9:30 to 2:05, from 9:30 to 3 p.m., you have a basic timeline of a person and how strictly they had to adhere to that time to teach real life skills. Finally, there's this real interactive piece, which I thought was really fun. I've actually tried this before in a pre-K counts classroom a few years back, where I've had students, I drew a giant clock such as this by hand. So now with technology emerging into it, it makes it a lot easier to have a big display of a clock such as this one. And students will go up one by one. I will give them a digital time, and they have to represent that analog time using their arms as the clock arms. So they'll make one long arm, the hour arm, of course, and the next one would be the minute arm. So say I was to give the time of 6:30, the student facing the classroom would use their left hand, their left arm, to indicate the hour on the 6 going down, and the right arm to indicate the minutes on the clock, which would be at the 3. So each student will have a chance to do this one by one, given the, them to get a kinesthetic portion into it, as well as higher order thinking skills, because they would have to think about their left and their right, as well as the position of their arms for the clock to represent the correct time. And it will be a collaborative effort for if a student did not get the correct time that they were proposed, then as a group we will go together on how to actually get the correct time. And finally, we go into the general reflection of the day, where I give a basic word problem. As you see here, JB is a student at Grover Elementary School. Every day after school, he plays video games until 12. And after his bedtime at 7, students here would have to figure out how many hours does he stay up past his bedtime. The obvious answer would be you subtract 12 p.m. from 7. You subtract 7 p.m. from 12, and you would get the answer of 5. So the following questions here at the bottom is what students will write in their journals along with the discussion question. And after students have 10 minutes, which is the clock here, to show a visual aid of a digital time as well as the ticking clock as the analog time, they get a visual reinforcement of the lesson for the day. The discussion question also goes into how Jamie ended up getting in trouble and sent home with a letter because he fell asleep in class. So the students get to see a real-time description of a student who does not get enough sleep during the night and is affected by it during the day, and it affects his academics. So this will also be an open discussion for students to see the importance of staying on time with their daily tasks, going to bed on time, and arriving pumped and early for school. So that way they can get a real-time responsibility for their academic achievement, and it'll also lead to an open discussion for reflection. And at the end of this could also be a take-home assignment where students will have a worksheet and would, again, as I said before, either document the phases of the sun or moon and the times that it was throughout the day to understand that reality, as well as to take home a schedule chart to document the activities they do throughout the day after school, such as the time that they get home, the time that they eat dinner, the time they do homework, the time that they go to bed. just those kind of things, so that students can get also a better understanding of time and how it elapses over the day. And that is the end of the lesson. And here are my references for my 2 videos. Thank you so much.